Russia closes in on Ukraine's besieged Mariupol. After nearly 2 months under siege, the southern city of Mariupol could fall into Russian hands within hours. A Ukrainian official said, as the two sides agreed on Wednesday to a humanitarian corridor to allow civilians to flee the devastated port city, as fighting raged in the country's east and south. The president of the European Council, Charles Michel, arrived in Kyiv, in the latest sign of strengthening ties between Ukraine and Europe, in Kyiv today. In the heart of a free and democratic Europe, he wrote on social media. Michel's visit comes as the West continues to pour weapons into Ukraine amid a renewed Russian push into the eastern Donbass region, where a new offensive launched this week has led to an uptick in fighting. Hours ahead of Michel's arrival, the Pentagon said that Ukraine had recently received fighter planes and spare parts to bolster its air force, following repeated calls from Kyiv for heavier weapons. The Pentagon declined to specify the number of aircraft and their origin. The announcement came as the battle for Mariupol appeared to be nearing a crucial peak. After months of devastating fighting that has seen untold numbers of civilians trapped, control of Mariupol and the separatist-controlled Donbass region in the east would allow Moscow to create a southern corridor to the Crimean Peninsula that it annexed in 2014, depriving Ukraine of much of its coastline. In the latest ultimatum issued in its battle to capture Mariupol, Moscow made another call for the city's defenders to surrender on Wednesday by 2 p.m. Moscow time, 1100 GMT, and announced the opening of a humanitarian corridor for any Ukrainian troops who agreed to lay down their arms. As the deadline approached, a commander in the besieged Azovstal steel plant issued a desperate plea for help, saying his Marines were, maybe facing our last days, if not ours. The enemy is outnumbering us 10-1, Serhiy Volina from the 36th Separate Marine Brigade said. We appeal and pled to all world leaders to help us. An advisor to the mayor of Mariupol described a horrible situation in the encircled complex and reported that up to 2,000 people, mostly women and children, are without normal supplies of drinking water, food and fresh air. During an interview, Pavlo Kyrylenko, who oversees the Donetsk region's military administration, insisted Mariupol remain contested. The Ukrainian flag is flying over the city, he said. There are certain districts where street fighting is continuing. I can't say the Russians are controlling them. Offering some respite, Kyiv said early Wednesday it had agreed with Russian forces to open a safe route for civilians to flee the devastated city. We have managed to get a preliminary agreement on a humanitarian corridor for women, children and elderly persons, Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk wrote on Telegram.